Dear listeners, a new day and a new story to discuss. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that interests me. Listen and write down what you think about this situation. I'm interested in your opinions. The golden rays of the setting sun filtered through our living room windows, casting a warm glow over the family photographs that lined the mantelpiece. 20 years of marriage with Eliza, and each day felt like a new chapter in an epic saga. Our children, Sophia and Mia, were engrossed in their teenage world, while Alex, our youngest, was the quiet storm of the trio. Eliza, do you remember this? I asked, holding up a faded photograph of our wedding day. She walked over, a gentle smile playing on her lips. How could I forget? You stepped on my dress while dancing, she chuckled, her blue eyes twinkling with mirth. I wrapped my arms around her, feeling the familiar warmth of her body. You were, and still are, the most stunning woman in the room, I said, my voice tinged with nostalgia. Just then, Sophia burst into the room, her phone in hand. Dad, can you believe Jake Thompson asked me to prom? She squealed, her excitement infectious. That's great, sweetheart. I replied, my heart swelling with paternal pride. But remember, curfew is still a thing. Dad, she rolled her eyes but hugged me anyway. The doorbell rang and Mia, always the curious one, rushed to answer it. Mom, Dad, it's the new neighbors, she called out. Eliza and I exchanged a quick glance before heading to the door. Standing on our doorstep were Natalie and Brian, the new couple who had moved into the neighborhood. Natalie's athletic frame was impossible to miss, and Brian's friendly demeanor was instantly likable. Welcome to the neighborhood. Eliza greeted them with her usual warmth. We thought we'd come by and introduce ourselves, Brian said, extending a hand. I'm Brian, and this fitness fanatic here is my wife, Natalie. Natalie laughed, a sound as clear as a bell. Guilty as charged. I'm a gym instructor. We've heard so much about you guys. As we invited them in, the kids gathered around, intrigued by the new faces. Natalie's eyes fell on the photograph I was still holding. Is that your wedding picture? You guys look amazing, she exclaimed. Eliza blushed slightly. That was a long time ago. Things change, people change. But some things never do, like how Ethan here still looks at you, Natalie said, a playful note in her voice. I felt a blush creep up my neck. Well, she's the love of my life. What can I say? The conversation flowed effortlessly. Natalie spoke about her gym and fitness, her enthusiasm palpable. You should join me for a session sometime, Eliza. It's exhilarating. Eliza, who had always been conscious about staying fit, seemed intrigued. Maybe I will, she said thoughtfully. Could be a fun way to kick off the next 20 years. I watched them talk, a sense of contentment washing over me. Our life had its routine, but moments like these, full of warmth and new possibilities, were what I cherished the most. The evening wore on, filled with laughter and shared stories. As Natalie and Brian eventually said their goodbyes, I turned to Eliza, who was watching them leave with a thoughtful expression. Thinking of taking up Natalie on her gym offer? I asked, curious. She nodded, a determined glint in her eye. I think it's time for a little change, Ethan. A new chapter, maybe. I hugged her, feeling a surge of admiration for her endless spirit. Whatever you decide, I'm with you every step of the way. As the night drew to a close, and the kids retreated to their rooms, I sat beside Eliza on our old couch, the one that had seen us through years of joys and challenges. I knew that whatever the future held, our journey together, with all its ups and downs, would continue to be my greatest adventure. The morning was brisk, the kind that nipped at your ears and nose, a stark reminder that autumn was giving way to winter. Our neighborhood, usually quiet, buzzed with the arrival of the moving truck next door. The sold sign on the lawn of the house next to ours had been replaced by a welcome banner. I watched from our window, coffee in hand, as the new neighbors started unloading. That must be them, I murmured to myself, curiosity piqued. Eliza joined me, her hand gently resting on my shoulder. The new adventure begins, she said, her gaze fixed on the bustling activity outside. We decided to greet them. Donning our coats, we stepped out into the chilly air. The neighbors, a young couple, were unloading a sleek, modern-looking bicycle. Hi there. Welcome to the neighborhood. I called out cheerfully. The woman turned around, her ponytail swinging. She flashed a bright, welcoming smile. Hi, I'm Natalie, and this is my husband, Brian. Brian, a tall man with an easy smile, extended his hand. Thanks for the warm welcome. We've heard great things about this area. We all shook hands, and the conversation flowed effortlessly. Natalie's energy was infectious, her enthusiasm for fitness evident as she excitedly talked about her new job as a gym instructor in town. You know, Eliza, you should join me for a session sometime, Natalie suggested with a wink. Eliza, usually reserved, seemed taken by the idea. I might just take you up on that. It's been a while since I hit the gym. We helped them with a few boxes, the air filled with the sound of our laughter and chatter. Brian, who worked in IT, shared his excitement about the tech community in our city. Hey Ethan, if you're ever in need of tech support, you know where to find me, he joked. I'll remember that, I replied, chuckling. As we walked back to our house, Eliza seemed deep in thought. They seem nice, don't they? She mused. Definitely. It's good to have some fresh energy in the neighborhood, I agreed. That evening, as we sat in our living room, the doorbell rang. It was Natalie and Brian, holding a freshly baked pie. We thought we'd officially introduce ourselves with some homemade apple pie, Natalie said, her eyes sparkling with friendliness. The aroma of the pie filled our house as we invited them in. Our children, curious about the commotion, came downstairs. Introductions were made, and soon everyone was chatting like old friends. Natalie's stories about her fitness journey and her travels around the world captivated us all. Life's too short to stay in one place, she said, her eyes shining with adventure. Brian shared anecdotes from his tech career, making even the complex world of computers seem fascinating. As the night grew late, and our new friends said their goodbyes, I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. It was as if their arrival had injected a new vitality into our lives, a promise of new friendships and experiences. Eliza, her eyes reflecting the flickering candlelight, turned to me. Ethan, I think I'm going to take Natalie up on her gym offer. I smiled, impressed by her spontaneity. Go for it. It's great to see you so excited. That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about the changes the new neighbors might bring. There was a sense of anticipation in the air, a feeling that something was about to shift in our tranquil life. Little did I know how profound that change would be. The day of Eliza's 40th birthday party arrived with a burst of energy and a whirlwind of preparations. Our home was abuzz with excitement, the air tinged with the sweet aroma of baked treats and fresh flowers. I had gone all out for this occasion, determined to make it a memorable milestone for her. Everything looks amazing, Ethan, Eliza exclaimed as she descended the stairs, her dress flowing around her like liquid gold. Her transformation over the past months had been remarkable, and tonight, she looked nothing short of stunning. The doorbell rang, signaling the arrival of our guests. The house quickly filled with friends, family, and a few of Eliza's colleagues. Laughter and music mingled, creating a lively atmosphere. Natalie and Brian were among the first to arrive. Eliza, you look incredible, Natalie gushed, embracing her tightly. Brian clapped me on the back. Ethan, you've outdone yourself. This party is fantastic. As the evening progressed, I noticed a change in Eliza. She moved through the crowd with a newfound confidence, laughing and chatting animatedly. At one point, she was surrounded by a group of her younger male colleagues, all clearly enamored by her charm. Eliza seems to be the life of the party, I overheard someone say. Feeling a bit out of place amidst the younger crowd, I retreated to the sidelines, observing the scene with a mix of pride and unease. Then the music shifted, and a slow song began to play. Eliza was invited to dance by one of her colleagues, a young, handsome guy named Mark. I watched as they moved gracefully across the floor, Eliza's laughter ringing out. The sight unsettled me, stirring emotions I hadn't anticipated. I wanted to be happy for her joy and vitality, but a part of me felt left behind. As the party wound down, and the last guests trickled out, Eliza's radiant smile faded slightly. Ethan, did you enjoy the party? She asked, her eyes searching mine for approval. I hesitated before responding. The party was great, Eliza. But can we talk about how you were with your colleagues? She looked puzzled. What do you mean? I mean, the dancing and the flirting. It felt different. I don't know, Eliza. It made me uncomfortable, I admitted, my voice a mix of confusion and concern. Eliza's expression softened. Ethan, I didn't realize it was affecting you that way. I was just caught up in the moment, enjoying the attention. It didn't mean anything. I nodded, trying to process my feelings. I know, I trust you. It's new to me, seeing you like this. We sat down, a silence enveloping us as we both pondered the shift in our dynamic. Ethan, I love you. You know that, right? Eliza reached for my hand, her touch reassuring. I love you too, Eliza. More than anything. I just need some time to adjust to this new you, I said, squeezing her hand in affirmation. That night, as we lay in bed, a distance seemed to have crept in between us, a gap that hadn't been there before. I watched her sleep, her face peaceful and content, and wondered how we would navigate this new chapter of our lives. The party had been a celebration of her life, but it had also opened a door to uncharted territory in our marriage. As I drifted off to sleep, I knew that the days ahead would test us in ways we hadn't anticipated. Thursday afternoons were typically uneventful in our household, a brief lull before the weekend's frenzy. I was at work, lost in a maze of spreadsheets, when my phone buzzed with a call that turned the day upside down. Mr. Thompson, this is St. Mary's Hospital. Your son, Alex, has been brought in. He's been in an accident. The voice on the other end was calm, but it sent a jolt of fear through my heart. Accident? Is he okay? What happened? My words tumbled out in a frantic cascade. We need you to come to the hospital as soon as possible, sir. I left the office in a blur, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Traffic was a nightmare, each red light stretching into an eternity. Repeated calls to Eliza went unanswered, adding to the mounting panic. At the hospital, the stark white walls and the smell of antiseptic hit me like a wave. A nurse led me to where Alex lay, his leg bandaged, face bruised, and unconscious. Mr. Thompson, your son has a broken leg and some bruises, but he's stable, the doctor explained. How did this happen? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He was hit by a car while walking home from school. He's lucky. It could have been much worse. Walking home? Why was he walking home? Eliza was supposed to pick him up. Where was she? I dialed her number again, desperation creeping into my voice. Eliza, it's me. Call me back. It's about Alex. Turning to the doctor, I asked, can I see him? Just for a moment. He's still unconscious. I stood beside Alex's bed, my heart breaking at the sight of him so vulnerable. I'm here, son. You're going to be okay, I whispered, though I wasn't sure if I was reassuring him or myself. Leaving the room, I found a quiet corner to gather my thoughts. I needed to get our daughters and inform Eliza's parents. The unanswered calls to Eliza piled up, each one amplifying my worry and frustration. Why isn't she answering? She should have been there for Alex, I muttered under my breath. Hours passed, family members arrived, and the waiting room filled with a tense silence. Eliza's absence hung heavily in the air, her phone still going straight to voicemail. Have you heard from your wife, Mr. Thompson? Eliza's father, Edward, asked, concern etched on his face. No, I haven't. I don't understand why she's not picking up, I replied, my confusion growing into anger. The clock ticked on, marking the passage of time in a room where time seemed to stand still. The hospital's fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting a sterile glow on our worried faces. Then, a breakthrough. Dad, I found Mom on the Find My Phone app. Sophia exclaimed, holding up her phone. The blinking red dot on the screen showed a location in the heart of the city, far from the hospital and our home. A surge of emotions hit me, relief, anger, confusion. What is she doing there? Mary, Eliza's mother, asked, her voice trembling. I called the location, a downtown hotel. I need to speak to Eliza Thompson. It's urgent, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. After a few tense moments, the phone was handed over to Eliza. Eliza, it's me. Alex is in the hospital. He's been hit by a car. You need to come here now, I said, struggling to keep my emotions in check. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end, followed by a flurry of questions and a hurried promise to come right away. I hung up, the weight of the situation pressing down on me. My son was in the hospital, my wife unaccounted for until moments ago, and my family in disarray. As I sat there, surrounded by concerned faces, I realized that our lives had taken a turn. The accident had set off a chain of events that would challenge the very foundation of our family. And in that hospital waiting room, with my son fighting for his health in the next room, I braced myself for what was to come. The sterile walls of St. Mary's Hospital had become all too familiar as the hours dragged into night. The tension in the waiting room was palpable, a mix of worry for Alex and uncertainty about Eliza. When she finally burst through the doors, her appearance was disheveled, her eyes wide with panic. Ethan, I came as soon as I could. How's Alex? What happened? Eliza's voice was frantic, her usual composure shattered. I took a deep breath, my emotions a stormy sea. He's stable, but he's been hit by a car, Eliza. He was walking home because someone forgot to pick him up. Her face drained of color. I lost track of time. I'm so sorry, Ethan. The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken accusations. Sophia and Mia, teary-eyed, rushed to their mother, seeking comfort in her embrace. Eliza's parents, Edward and Mary, approached, their expressions a mix of relief and disapproval. "What were you thinking, Eliza? You know how dangerous that road is," Mary chided, her worry for her grandson evident. "I know, Mom, I know. It was a mistake," Eliza replied, her voice barely above a whisper. As we gathered around Alex's bed, the sight of our son, bandaged and bruised, was a stark reminder of the day's events. Eliza reached for his hand, tears streaming down her face. "Alex, I'm so sorry, baby. Mommy's here now," she sobbed. The room was filled with a tense silence, broken only by the soft beeping of the monitors. I watched Eliza, her usual confidence replaced by a vulnerability I hadn't seen before. Back in the waiting room, I pulled Eliza aside. "We need to talk. What happened today, Eliza? Where were you?" Her eyes darted away, a sign I knew all too well. "Ethan, it's not what you think. I just lost track of time." "Losing track of time doesn't explain why you were at a downtown hotel, Eliza," I pressed, my voice firm. Her face paled. "How did you?" "Sophia tracked your phone. So, I'll ask again. Why were you there?" The words seemed to weigh heavily on her. "Ethan, it's complicated. I was with someone. A friend." "A friend? At a hotel?" "While our son lay in a hospital." My voice rose in anger and disbelief. Eliza's eyes filled with tears. "It's not what you think, Ethan. It was a mistake. A terrible mistake." The room spun around me as the implications of her words sank in. "A mistake? Eliza, you need to be honest with me." "Now." She hesitated, then spoke in a hushed tone. "It was Donovan from work. We just went to talk, but things got out of hand. It was the first time, I swear. I felt as if the ground had given way beneath me." "Donovan? The sales rep? You were with him while our son." "I know, Ethan, I know. I never meant for any of this to happen," she pleaded, her voice breaking. The door opened, and our daughters walked in. Sophia's eyes were red from crying, and Mia looked confused and scared. "Dad, is Mom okay?" Sophia asked, her voice shaky. "We're just talking, honey. Why don't you and Mia go get some coffee?" I suggested, needing a moment alone with Eliza. As they left, I turned back to Eliza. "This isn't just a mistake, Eliza. This is a betrayal. Of our family, of our marriage." Her sobs filled the room, a sound that tore at my heart. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I'm so sorry." In that moment, as I looked at the woman I had loved and trusted for over 2 decades, I knew that our lives had changed irrevocably. The foundation of our marriage had been shaken, and I was left grappling with a reality I never imagined. In the days that followed Alex's accident, our home became a place of quiet reflection, the usual hustle and bustle replaced by a somber mood. Alex's recovery was my primary focus, but the undercurrents of Eliza's betrayal were ever present, casting long shadows in the corners of our once happy home. One evening, as I sat in the living room staring at the flickering flames in the fireplace, Eliza walked in, her steps hesitant. The air between us was thick with unspoken words. "Ethan, can we talk?" Her voice was a mere whisper, laden with regret. I nodded, my heart heavy. "We need to, Eliza. We can't continue like this." She took a seat across from me, her hands nervously clasped in her lap. "I know I've broken something precious between us. I've been thinking, maybe we need some space to figure things out." The suggestion of space felt like a chasm opening up, but deep down, I knew she was right. "Maybe you're right. Some time apart might help us understand what we really want." Eliza's eyes welled up with tears. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. For everything. I never wanted to hurt you or the kids." I sighed, the weight of the past days pressing down on me. "Sorry doesn't undo what happened, Eliza. I'm trying to understand, but it's hard." The room was silent, save for the crackling of the fire. Eliza broke the silence with a shaky voice. "I'll move into the guest room. Give you and the kids some space." The reality of our situation hit me then, the distance, the hurt, the mistrust. Our family, once so close, now fractured by a single, reckless act. "Let's do that for now," I agreed, my voice barely audible. "We need to think about the kids too. They're confused and hurt." Eliza nodded, a single tear trailing down her cheek. "I'll do whatever it takes to make things right, Ethan. For you, for the kids." The days turned into weeks. Our interactions were limited, functional, always with the children in mind. The house, once filled with laughter and love, now echoed with the sounds of a family trying to find its way through the fog of uncertainty. One afternoon, as I sat by Alex's bedside, reading to him, he looked up at me, his young eyes filled with worry. Dad, are you and Mom going to be okay? I paused, searching for the right words. We're trying to figure things out, buddy. It's complicated, but we both love you and your sisters very much. He nodded, his expression thoughtful. I just want us to be happy again. His words echoed in my heart long after he fell asleep. That night, lying in bed, I realized that no matter the outcome with Eliza, our children needed stability and love. They were my anchor, my reason to navigate through this storm. The weeks rolled into months. Eliza and I slowly started to rebuild a semblance of normalcy for the sake of the kids. We attended school events, celebrated birthdays, but the gap between us remained. One rainy Saturday, as I sat in my study, Eliza knocked on the door. Ethan, can we talk? About us. I gestured for her to come in. What about us, Eliza? She took a deep breath. I've been doing a lot of thinking. About everything. Us. The kids. What I did. And I realized, I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose our family. Her words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of our past. Eliza, I appreciate what you're saying, but things have changed. I've changed. I'm not sure if we can go back to the way things were. Tears streamed down her face. I know I've hurt you, Ethan, more than I can ever express, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make it right. I looked at her, the woman I had loved for more than half my life, now a stranger in many ways. I need time, Eliza. Time to heal, to understand, to decide what I want for my future. Our future. She nodded, wiping away her tears. Take all the time you need, Ethan. I'll wait. I'll do anything to make this right. As she left the room, I realized that the road ahead was uncertain. Our marriage, once unshakable, was now on shaky ground. But one thing was clear: our family, our children, were the priority. No matter what the future held, they would be at the center of every decision I made. In that moment of quiet reflection, I understood that moving forward didn't mean forgetting the past. It meant learning from it, growing from it, and perhaps, in time, finding a way to forgive.